Welcome to the Hi-Point end plate installation video. The end plate adapter goes right here after you cut off your stock, and we're going to get right to it. When you purchase the end plate adapter, you can get it in finished and unfinished. You can get it with a single point sling hole, and it comes with this QD ring, or you can get it finished and unfinished with no QD ring. It comes with a cut guide and instructions with pictures. So what we have in addition to that is you're going to need to purchase a mil-spec buffer tube, castle nut, and stock. As you can see on this mil-spec buffer tube, we have ground off with a file to get down to the threads. And you'll understand why this is important later on in the video. So for now, we're going to pop off our cheek rest and insert our cut guide. And we're going to cut right here and then put her together. As you can see, we've got the stock in the saw. We've lined it up to where we can get a nice even cut, nice and straight. Make sure that this side just kisses this side of the blade over here, and then we're going to do the cut. So this is what it's going to look like. It's going to have goobers and gobs. We need to clean all that up and take our cut guide off, and then we'll be ready for our next step. Alright, we've cut our stock off and we've cleaned it up somewhat. Our next step is the adapter has a spine here. We need to cut a slot in here. So we're going to be going to the table saw next. But before we cut in the table saw, we need to remove these neck bolts, because if we don't, we're going to cut through our bolts. Now we have our neck bolts removed. We want to hang on to those. Do not lose those. We're going to take some duct tape, the handyman's secret weapon, and we want to duct tape the stock together tightly. And that is just so that when we're cutting this groove, this slot, if you will, into this poly here, it doesn't open up. And then you take your Sharpie, you find your seam, right where your seam is at. You put a mark, find your seam, and you put a mark. So we're going to set our table saw depth to 3/4 of an inch, which is the distance between here and here. 3/4 of an inch. And we're going to cut a 3/4 inch slot. Alright, we've adjourned to the table saw, and we have raised the table saw blade up to 3/4 of an inch at the top here. We wrapped it in duct tape, removed our neck bolts before we did that, and then marked it. And we've tested to make sure that when we come through the saw that it's going to be right smack dab in the middle. Now I recommend you use 2 people to kind of guide it, because it can roll a little bit. As you can see here, it can roll a little bit to kind of hold it steady as you push it through the saw, but don't get your fingers in the saw. Be safe. Alright, we've made this cut, the slot. As you can see, we've got a nice slot there. It's got a little bit of goobers and stuff on it. We want to clean that up and take the tape off now. Once we get this cleaned up, we can take off the sticky with a little bit of goop off. If you need to, you can get a file kind of in there and just kind of see how some stuff came out of there. Clean that up a little bit. We want to get rid of all of these goobers and chunks. And once we get that all cleaned up, then we'll be able to dry fit and see how we like that. We're going to do a little more cleaning and we'll be back. So now we are ready to dry fit our spine. I've already stuck it in there a couple of times to make sure I'm happy with it. You want to kind of feel here and feel here when you're happy with it. And you've got it held nice and tight. Put it against a piece of wood, because you don't want to mar up Mama's kitchen table. She will get mad. You take your punch, stick it in the hole. Take your hammer and give it a good mark we have a good mark, but I want it to be a little bit more of a mark. So I'm going to hit it again. We're going to drill a 3/16 hole here. Then we're going to put this in. We're going to stick our screw in. Then we're going to drill carefully with a hand drill out this other side. And you see I've marked it a little bit. There's just a little bit of material right there that needs to be removed. And then that thread will be threaded, ready to thread. And we're ready to the next step, which is fitting this to that using this. Okay, I've got it set up in a drill press for this hole. You can use a hand drill. Just be very steady with it. Take your time. I'm using a drill press because I've got this nice and lined up with my punch mark right there. And we're ready to just drill right through it. Now we can take this off, and you can see our hole is nicely punched through. If your hole is out of alignment for some reason, you can take a chainsaw file and you can work the hole either direction you need to go to make it where it line up. And I think we're ready to go mount this and drill our second hole. All right, so we've drilled our hole in our spine. We've cleaned up and cut our slot. We're going to slide her in. We're going to check. If you look through you can't really see it on camera, but if you look through there, you can see light all the way through. We're perfectly lined up. We put our screw in. And using our hex head driver, kind of torque it down good and tight. Then you take your 3/16 in your hand drill and very gently drill out. And then you can put this one in. And it should have just barely kissed that metal. Okay, so we were struggling to get that through. See how it just barely kissed the metal? I actually had to take my round file and just remove a little bit of material. And then I was able to stick this in, stick that in. And it threaded right through. All right, so we have a mil-spec buffer tube, and as you can see, there's no thread on that, about 1/8 inch there, and we want to get rid of that. I notice I have the castle nut on. The reason I have the castle nut on is once you're done sanding or grinding or filing, you can undo the castle nut, take it off, and it'll clean up the threads in case something got bunged up in there or gummed up in there. And then we're just going to grind it off. Forgot to mention wear gloves. This gets hot. But as you can see, we've gotten rid of that bit that was there. We can undo our castle nut to clean up our threads. And now we're ready to install. It's that easy. Now we have a perfectly good fit. We can try to see if this will fit. If we can get it to thread through. Got to get this lined up at the bottom. As it doesn't want to line up, we're going to back it off. Then we can take our castle nut, tighten it up. Now, if we have some difficulty here, as you can see, this is going to hold. It ain't going nowhere. You can actually take your screwdriver per the instructions and heat it on a flame, and then melt in to here about 1/16 of an inch all the way around. Once you melt in 1/16 of an inch, you clean it up a little bit, and then this will actually thread in a little deeper, and then it'll even give you that much more of a bite. We've got ourselves lined up now. This is in perfect alignment. We can put our castle nut on. If you don't have a castle nut wrench, you can take a hammer and a flathead screwdriver and just tap it until she's tight, and then put your stock on, and now you're ready to roll. There you have it. You have the Hi-Point end plate adapter installed. It is firmly attached. You can see it doesn't flex, it doesn't move. And I hope you have many years of enjoyment shooting it. Also, you can join my Facebook page, Hi-Point end plate adapter Facebook page group, and I will post new products I have out there for sale and pricing, and or you can ask questions if you run into any troubles. And in the instructions will be an email address in case you do run into any problems. Again, enjoy your product and have a wonderful, safe day.